Oh, he's got a bowl.
Hi, I'm Sara. I have a gypsy soul and an overwhelming urge to see the world. This is my sister Megan and my best friend Kelly. Join us on our journey, Discovering America.
Welcome to Discovering America. Today we're in Furniture City, Grand Rapids, Michigan. First up, the John Ball Zoo. The mission of the John Ball Zoo is to educate the public on the need for conservation and preservation of our wildlife. Let's go check it out. Just watching some sea otters, 2 sea otters, so she dropped 2 fish and then she let the otters out. The male otter came out first and he got his fish, and then he came back before the female came out and he grabbed her fish too, and she was looking around for like 5 minutes and she couldn't find a fish, and it was so sad. She went over to where he was and started looking, and so he scooped up both fish and ran and hid somewhere else. What a jerk face. But the zookeeper lady came, gave the girl another fish. To the stingrays, I got an alert on my phone that said there was some really bad storms coming. So we were about an hour and a half from home, so we decided to take off a little bit early to try to miss the storms. And really, because we procrastinated so long, we kind of ended up right in the middle of them, as you can see. The Mitten State is an apparel store with Michigan-made apparel featuring anything and everything to do with the state of Michigan. They started as an online store but opened their first retail location about a year ago in Grand Rapids. I'm standing in the courtroom of the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum, and this trip has been pretty ill-fated from the beginning. It started last night when I realized I didn't have the right camera. So we have a backup camera. Kelly got to my house half an hour late. Come on, Kelly. And then I kept forgetting things, like I had to run back in the house to get the charger, and then I realized the camera battery might not be charged, so I had to get a charger for that, but then the charger for that wouldn't fit in Kelly's car. And then we get to Grand Rapids and we go to park, and there's a guy standing there when you pull in, and Kelly's like, oh no, I don't have cash. So I go to grab my wallet to see if I have cash so we can park. Not only do I not have cash, I don't have my wallet at all. So hopefully we survive. Grand Rapids was home to our 38th president, Gerald Ford. The Gerald R. Ford Museum opened in 1981 and is now the final resting place of former President Ford and his wife Betty. Ford is the only person in American history to serve in the positions of president and vice president, but not be elected by ballot to either. On July 14, 1913, former President Ford was born Leslie Lynch King Jr. in Omaha, Nebraska. Shortly after, his parents were divorced, and President Ford and his mother Dorothy moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan. 3 years later, Dorothy married Gerald Ford Sr. In high school, Ford ran for student body president. This would be his last defeat for 45 years. Ford attended the University of Michigan. He then coached football and boxing for 2 years at Yale Law before attending himself. He also served in the Navy. The 25th Amendment, ratified in 1967, provided that whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the Vice President, the President shall nominate a Vice President who shall take office upon confirmation by the majority vote of both houses of Congress. Ironically, a major reason the amendment was enacted in the first place had been Vice President Richard Nixon's uncertain role when Dwight Eisenhower twice fell ill in the 1950s and the nation wondered who was in charge. With the resignation of Vice President Spiro Agnew in October 1973, Nixon became the first president to resort to the 25th Amendment. A year later, the man Nixon had chosen to replace Agnew, Gerald Ford, would go through the same constitutional process in designating his vice president, Nelson Rockefeller. 1 month after he became president, President Ford made the controversial decision to pardon former President Nixon. He felt that the nation would never be able to heal through months of court proceedings. Johnny B's is a Grand Rapids restaurant known for their smoked meats, all-beef hot dogs, and grilled buns. Currently, Johnny B's is in the process of expansion and relocation to a former gas station across the street from their present location. Are cute and all, but let's be honest, most of these in this exhibit are really creepy.
It moves, just so you know. But yay, your feet touch. Woohoo!
polishing skills, ladies and gentlemen. So today we learned that Sarah can't play the violin.
Okay, so we're at Art Prize, or we're trying to be. We've told you before, we grew up in a town of like 1,400 people.
There's like 50-something people in my graduating class.
Right, so we just had our first experience on public transportation, and let me just say, it was terrifying. And now we don't really know where we're going, so we'll let you know if we ever figure it out. Art Prize is an annual Grand Rapids art competition started in 2008. Each year, for 19 days, venues such as cafes, museums, and other businesses within a 3-mile radius are filled with artwork from around the world. Anyone over the age of 18 can enter, and winners are determined by audience vote. This year was our first year at Art Prize, and we didn't really know what we were doing or where to find the art, so we didn't get to see much. But it was really fun, and the art was really cool. Next year, we'll definitely make sure that we're more prepared so we can enjoy more of what Art Prize has to offer. It's time again for Discovering America's MVP of the Week. This week, our MVP of the week is Kelly for driving home from Grand Rapids in this crazy storm. There's actually a tornado not very far from us, and Sarah was in the passenger seat freaking out the whole time. So, good job, Kelly. Next time on Discovering America. Today, we're in Marshall, Michigan. Whatever you feel is right. Cornhouse Turkeyville boasts a kitchen serving classic dishes with a turkey twist. Okay. Ooh, showgirls! Great! My shoe's gonna fall off. Everybody's sleeping. Just hit myself in the face with a branch. Because you're so cool. Right, you don't want to eat what she has, honey. Yep, that's a wreath made out of hair.